I love it. I love it. I love it. Look at this. This is the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Hey, I'm not surprised.
Hey, what's poppin', my homies? Hope you're doing well, feeling blessed, having a good day, having a good week. This one's gonna be Virna Jandiroba taking on Amanda Lemos in the main event. Before we get into making predictions, doing breakdowns, all that good stuff, we look at my bets from last week. And last week, I got dusted. Now, I've been on a really good run, winning 19 of my last 25 over the last 6 weeks. However, last week, my lineup was it was dust. It was pure dust. I got dusted. Now, my first bet was Bonfim and Rose. Now, that was a very good bet. But the rest that followed, a day before the fight, day of the fight, the rest that followed was it was pure dust. I took some plus money chances when I probably shouldn't have done that, being on such a hot streak, winning 19 of my last 25. But yeah, I took some plus money chances and it turned to dust. My lineup, pure dust. Now guys, moving into Money City, if you see your name on the screen, you already know, that's money. Pure money. And guys, so many people had C-Rod in their Money City lineup and also had Josh Van, CJ in the final round, turning into a prime Gagey. Oh my goodness. Hey, we gotta give CJ credit. That guy dusted Josh Van. Wow. Guys, I never say hit the like button. I never say that, but smash the like button, man. Smash that. Let's go. Now, moving into the first matchup of the card, we've got Muhammad Usman taking on Thomas Petersen. And this is, low-level heavyweight action. We know that. In my opinion, Thomas Petersen in his UFC debut, it was really disappointing. I know he's a wrestler, right? He's a wrestler, but there wasn't any wrestling from Thomas Petersen. And you kind of see the consequences from that, right? He's staying on the feet. He's forced to strike with Jamal Pogues, which, it didn't look good. It didn't look great for Jamal Pogues either, in all fairness. But yeah, Thomas Petersen, man, he was kind of grabbing the hands of Jamal Pogues, all fight. And even his corner said, stop grabbing his hands, no more grabbing the wrist. But he's a wrestler. He was stuck on the feet. Couldn't really get his striking going, couldn't get his jab going, and he was just, in a fight where he didn't really impress anyone. You know what I'm saying? He's a wrestler, but he couldn't wrestle, and his striking wasn't great. He was just walking forward and getting pieced up. Now, on the flip side, Muhammad Usman isn't the most impressive heavyweight fighter. He's not the most impressive, right? But he is training with his brother, Kamaru Usman, the champion, the former champion, right? So his takedown defense, it might be good enough to keep the matchup on the feet. And if he does stay on the feet, that's where the overhands and the hooks, the big powerful knockout punches of of Muhammad Usman may be enough to essentially drop or even KO Thomas Petersen, right? So guys, for me personally, I'm going to side with Muhammad Usman to beat Thomas Petersen because I'm not that impressed with Thomas Petersen. The UFC debut, walking forward, stuck on the feet all fight. You're a wrestler and you're unable to wrestle. If that's the case again against Muhammad Usman and the fight stays on the feet, then the power of Usman, that's the pick. Now moving into a matchup between Luana Carolina taking on Lucie Pudilova. And guys, Lucie Pudilova's had 10 UFC fights. And out of those 10 UFC fights, she's lost 7. So losing 7 out of 10, kinda embarrassing, kinda not good, right? But Lucie Pudilova, man, she's a veteran. She's been around for a long time. You're seeing against Jocelyn Edwards recently. That's a split decision, very close fight. Then you're seeing against Ailin Perez. She kind of got mauled. She kind of got dominated in that fight. Nearly pulled off a really, really late submission against Ailin Perez, which kind of, highlights Ailin Perez with the dusty cardio. And we even see Perez get tired recently. So we've got to, remember that. Ailin Perez, dusty cardio. But yeah, Lucie Pudilova, man, she kind of reminds me of a female version of Nate Diaz. And what I mean by that is, defensively, she's not good, but she'll continue to fight. She'll scrap. She'll fight round in, round out. Even if you're piecing her up, she's going to stay in the fight. And I was actually at one of her fights quite a few years ago, March 2017, when she fought Lena Landsberg in London. So yeah, man, Lucie Pudilova, man, been around for a long time, had an amazing war with Irene Aldana. I know most of you guys remember that. Some of you guys will remember that fight. It was an absolute war. But yeah, defensively, Lucie Pudilova's not great. Her jiu-jitsu's okay, but if Luana Carolina's able to land her strikes, able to land her kicks, and her kicks, they kind of come in slow motion. Luana Carolina isn't the most effective striker, but she is pretty big. She's pretty physical, right? You're seeing that against Ivana Petrovic. I sided with Carolina as a 2-1 underdog against a very inexperienced Ivana Petrovic. And she done really well in that fight, but she's not fighting someone that's really inexperienced. Lucie Pudilova has a lot of experience, but her skills, you know, her defensive vulnerabilities, that's kind of why I want to pick against Lucie Pudilova. But at the same time, Luana Carolina's more physicality than skill, in my opinion. She has got the Muay Thai skill set, but the Muay Thai, I've seen better Muay Thai. I've seen much better Muay Thai. But then again, guys, with women's mixed martial arts, you want to side with physicality more than skill. And that is what you're going to get with Luana Carolina. She even dusted Julia Stoliarenko with Julia's game plan. You know, Julia wants to grapple with the opponent, bring the opponent to the mat, maul them on the mat. Luana Carolina took her to the mat and finished her in the crucifix. So yeah, I'm siding with Luana Carolina. That's my pick. Now guys, moving into a matchup between Loik Radzhabov taking on Trey Ogden. And what I want to ask you guys is this. Is Trey Ogden actually good or is he bad? That's kind of what I want to know with Trey Ogden, because when you look at his UFC debut, he gets pieced up by Jordan Levitt. And what I mean by that is Jordan Levitt lands like 50 calf kicks, right? Who lands 50 calf kicks? You best be Edson Barbosa if you're landing 50 calf kicks. But that wasn't the case for Trey Ogden in his UFC debut. He got calf kicked by Jordan Levitt like 50 times, which, you know, that kind of sets the tone. That sets the tone, right? That's the first impression that Trey Ogden gives every UFC fan. Let me get calf kicked 50 times by jiu-jitsu player Jordan Levitt. Then after that UFC debut, he goes and beats Daniel Zellhuber on the feet. So, guys, come on, man. The UFC debut loses to Jordan Levitt, gets calf kicked 50 times, goes and beats up Daniel Zellhuber on the feet. I'm so confused. I'm so confused. Maybe that's just an off UFC debut, an off night for Trey Ogden, right? Because that doesn't make sense. Then you're looking at his performance against Ignacio Bahamondes, which, you know, that's fine. Losing to Ignacio, that's fine. The guy's a baller. The guy's a G. Ignacio, the guy can stand, right? Defensively, he's terrible. But, you know, Ignacio Bahamondes, this guy's good. Then he goes in there against Nicholas Motta. And Nicholas Motta, he's the boxer, right? He's the boxer. Trey Ogden's the grappler in that fight. And Trey Ogden outboxes Nicholas Motta. He boxes him up on the feet. He lands the jab. He's the one landing the jab against the boxer. So, yeah, the career of Trey Ogden so far, it's been very weird. It's been very confusing. Then he goes in there against Kurt Holobaugh, and it's not boxing, it's grappling, right? Then he puts on a grappling masterclass where it was kind of boring, but at the same time, if that's all you've got to do to win the fight, you know, round in, round out, then do that. It's just been so weird watching Trey Ogden. I don't know if he's good, or if he's lucky, or if he's okay, or if he's a 50-50 fight. I don't know. I just don't know. Loik Radzhabov on the flip side. This guy's a wrestler. He's a wrestler that likes to box, but his cardio is just, it's dusty. It's super dusty. You're seeing that against Esteban Ribovics. Wins that fight. Gets very tired. Then you're seeing it against Abdul Karim Al-Sawadi. Wins that fight. Gets very tired. Against Mateusz Rebecki, he just gets pieced up, just gets dusted. So guys, this matchup, in my opinion, kind of difficult to predict because I don't know if Trey Ogden's good or not. Is he good? Is he bad? Is he lucky? I don't know. But what I see against Nicholas Motta, the jab's good, the boxing's good. What I see against Zellhuber, you know, on the feet, he looked good. He looked very good in that fight. But there's times where he doesn't look good against like Jordan Levitt. Against Ignacio, which is fine. Against Ignacio, that's fine. I'm going to side with Trey Ogden. I'm going to side with Trey. I think his cardio's better than Loik. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. And on the feet, he might show up. He might. So give me Trey Ogden. That's the pick. Now moving into a matchup between Miranda Maverick taking on Dione Barbosa. And guys, I feel quite strongly about this prediction. I feel quite strongly about this breakdown. And the reason as to why that is, when you look at Dione Barbosa in a UFC debut in Brazil, when you look at that fight, You're noticing, round one, yes, round one's good. Jiu-jitsu gets her to the mat. Round one's very good. Very, very good. I enjoy round one. Round one is what you want to see from Dione Barbosa. Then you're looking at the rest of that fight. And the rest of that fight, it wasn't good enough, right? It just wasn't good enough. And what we're seeing in the game of Dione Barbosa is weak cardio. Her cardio's dusty. Dusty cardio. And when you get tired, yeah, everything becomes more difficult, right? You can't get the takedowns that you want. You can't get the jab going that you want. You can't move your feet the way you want to move your feet. You can't do things the way you want to do them because you're tired. And that's what we've seen in the game of Dione Barbosa in her UFC debut. Round one was good. Round one, jiu-jitsu. That's what we expect from Dione Barbosa. Her jiu-jitsu is extremely good. Can she get Miranda Maverick to the mat and wrap up her neck, wrap up an arm? Can she do that? She could. She definitely could. However, past round one in the UFC debut of Dione Barbosa, you're just seeing that, the takedowns didn't come. She was forced to fight on the feet. She got very tired. Very, very tired. And she's only 7-2 as a pro. Miranda Maverick's been in there with, she's been in there with Macy Barber, Erin Blanchfield, right? Shana Young, Sabina Mazo, the Zombie Girl, Gillian Robertson. She's been in there with some beasts. She's been in there with real competition. And Miranda Maverick herself is real competition. Her Muay Thai is good. Her boxing's good. Her footwork, her cardio, her wrestling, her jiu-jitsu. She's extremely well-rounded. And that's why you should fear the Maverick. You really should fear the Maverick. So well-rounded. Now, guys, against someone that's so inexperienced, Dione Barbosa, if Dione Barbosa can't get Miranda Maverick to the mat and get the fight done early, get it finished early, if that doesn't happen, then, if you get tired against Miranda Maverick and you're that inexperienced, you can't stand on the feet, your cardio's not good, you can't move your feet the same way as Miranda Maverick, your Muay Thai isn't on the same level as Miranda Maverick, you don't have the same experience, the same cage time as Fear the Maverick. If that happens, then it's Miranda Maverick. It's Miranda Maverick all day. That's the pick. Now, moving into a matchup between Cody Gibson taking on Brian Kelleher. And guys, if you've got a friend that doesn't watch mixed martial arts and you want to show them a fight, you want to show them a fight to introduce them to mixed martial arts, right? Obviously, you've got loads of Conor McGregor fights. You've got George St. Pierre. You've got John Jones. You've got many fights. But you can actually show them a fight between Brad Katona and Cody Gibson. You can show them that fight. And in that fight, what you got was Cody Gibson had a complete disregard for defense. Zero defense. It's almost like Cody Gibson said, look, I don't know what defense is. I don't even know how to spell defense. How do you spell defense? I don't know what defense is. I know what attack is, though. I know what attack is, and I'm going to attack the opponent. I'm only going to attack the opponent. I don't know what defense is. I don't know how to defend myself, right? It's just full out attack. All out attack. Now, if you've got offense with no defense, it's not going to work. If you've got too much defense with no offense, it's not going to work. You need both. You need both, right? However, guys, you can show them that fight because it's so fun to watch, right? When you see someone that has zero defense and all-out offense, that's fun to watch. Very fun to watch. Now, the thing is, against Miles Johns in his next fight, you kind of see the same thing. You kind of see Cody Gibson, again, show another performance where, where's the defense? Where's the defense? You're watching Cody Gibson and you're kind of thinking, maybe you're a punch bag. Maybe you're just a punch bag. Because again, there's no defense. Where's the defense, man? Where is it? You don't see it. You see Cody Gibson, again, absorbing a lot of damage, right? It wasn't a one-off against Katona. Then he does it again against Miles Johns. So two performances where you're seeing with Cody Gibson, where is the defense? There is no defense. Now, against someone like Brian Kelleher, someone that's very old, someone that's getting towards the end of their UFC career, and someone that's just had neck surgery. So, guys, Cody Gibson's style, it's not going to change. His defense is going to probably, show to be dusty again. It's going to be very dusty. But against someone like Brian Kelleher, can his style actually work, right? Because Brad Katona just continued to bully Gibson all night. He bullied him all night. Then Miles Johns put on an even better performance than Brad Katona because Miles Johns didn't get hit. Brad Katona got hit. Whereas Miles Johns was like, I'm going to piece you up, but also I'm not going to really be in that fight. I'm not going to be in a dog fight. You want that fight. I'm going to expose your defense and you're not really going to get off with your offense. That's what Miles Johns did. Guys, I kind of think the style of Cody Gibson, even though I've explained it to be, defensively bad, all-out offense, that's the style of Cody Gibson. I kind of think it's going to work against a past prime, old Brian Kelleher, and also against a Brian Kelleher that's coming off a nasty knockout loss against Cody Garbrandt. The moment he got hit clean, and I'm not saying Cody Gibson can box the same way as No Love Cody Garbrandt, he can't do that, but the guy is all out offense, zero defense. Can that work against Brian Kelleher? That's the question. That's the main question for this breakdown, for this fight. We know the style of Cody Gibson is not good from a defensive standpoint. We know he's all-out offense. Does that work against Brian Kelleher? That's the question. Does it work against Kelleher? In my opinion, I think it does. I think it does. So guys, is Cody Gibson again going to show to be defensively bad? Probably. But against someone like Brian, I think it should work, right? Defensively, he's not great, Cody Gibson, but as the fight progresses, I think the output of Cody Gibson may start to really get to Brian Kelleher. And Brian's very old now. You know, this guy's boom. This guy's got big hooks, big power. He used to rip the hooks to the body, right? But it's not 2019. It's not 2020. It's not 2021. We're seeing with Brian Kelleher, he's getting towards the end of his UFC career. And Cody Gibson, even though he's, those two fights, they're kind of dusty, their defense is kind of bad, I think he's got more tenacity than Brian Kelleher. I think he's got more to offer, more heart, more determination. The defense, as I've said many times, it's not great. But I do believe the style of Cody Gibson, it may be enough. It may be good enough against Brian. So that's the pick. Give me Gibson. Now, guys, moving into a matchup between Hyder Amil taking on JeongYeong Lee. Very decent matchmaking. Very, very decent matchmaking. Now, guys, Hyder Amil, this guy's really entertaining to watch. And the main reason as to why Hyder Amil is so entertaining to watch, he's willing to fight at such a high pace. He'll walk forward, get into the face of the opponent, get into the pocket, mix in some wrestling here and there, right? Bring the opponent to the mat, essentially cause chaos at such a high rate, right? At a high pace, which kind of fatigues the opponent. I bet on him against Enra Sommez on the Contender. Can't really remember breaking down his UFC debut against Fernie Garcia, but he dusted Fernie Garcia, right? The pace that Hyder Amil is willing to fight at, in my opinion, is so noticeable. It's the most noticeable thing in his game, right? He'll just walk forward, get into the face of the opponent, start to really box, mix in some wrestling. The pace that Hyder Amil is willing to fight at is so noticeable. Now, the opponent, JeongYeong Lee, what you notice with Lee is he's quite a big 145er. This dude's a big 145er, and his boxing is very effective. Maybe down to the fact that, he's such a big 145er. But against Hyder Amil, there's kind of a chance that JeongYeong Lee does get tired in this fight, because Hyder Amil is going to fight at such a high pace, right? And if Lee wants to win the fight, you've kind of got to win the first two rounds. You've got to win round one. You've got to win round two. If you don't win the first two rounds against Hyder Amil, beating Hyder Amil is going to kind of be difficult, because Hyder Amil is going to win the final round. If you look at JeongYeong Lee, he's always tired in that final round, right? You're seeing that in his UFC debut, and you also see that against Blake Bilder. Now, he did dust up Blake Bilder, right? Kept the fight on the feet, made the fight more about boxing rather than wrestling, which is kind of what you want to do against Hyder Amil. But Hyder Amil, like I said, he's willing to do both. He's willing to fight on the feet. He's willing to fight against the fence. He's willing to fight on the mat. Hyder Amil's going to do anything he can do in the fight. He just wants to fatigue the opponent. He just wants to bring the opponent into a high-paced fight, because when he does that, the opponent's going to fatigue. And that's a Hyder Amil fight, right? Every single fighter, guys, they have a style. And if they can impose their style, then you're going to see a good performance. You're going to see them win, right? And that's what Hyder Amil wants to do. Walk forward, get into the opponent's face, start to box, push him against the fence, bring him to the mat, do anything he can do, but do it at a high pace, because he knows if he can bring the opponent into that high pace, they're going to be in a Hyder Amil fight. They're going to get tired. They're going to fatigue. And that's where Hyder Amil finds even more success. That's what he wants to do. However, like I said, JeongYeong Lee, the boxing is extremely good. It's powerful. It's effective. And if Hyder Amil is walking forward early, which he will be, right? He will be. That's where the jab of JeongYeong Lee, that's where the body shots of JeongYeong Lee have to be showing, right? He has to win round one. He has to win round two, in my opinion. If he doesn't win the first two rounds, then you're not going to beat Hyder Amil. You have to win the first two rounds. because more than likely, you're going to lose the final round. So starting fast, right? Giving Hyder Amil essentially what he wants, right? He wants a fight. And guys, there's a reason why this one's a featured prelim. It's an absolute banger. Hyder Amil, 9-0 as a pro, never tasted defeat, but kind of never been tested by competition greater than himself. Against Lee, though, he's in there with someone who's arguably a sharper boxer. And I kind of think, you know, that should be the result of the fight. I'm going to predict the sharp boxing of JeongYeong Lee to essentially be the story of the fight. Or will the story of the fight be Hyder Amil brings Lee into a high-paced fight and drowns him later in the fight? It's such a banger. Give me JeongYeong Lee. Now guys, moving into a matchup between DooHo Choi taking on Bill Algeo, Senior Perfecto. Guys, I'm kind of disappointed in the recent performance of Bill Algeo. I think defensively, you know, he kind of looked like Cody Gibson. Just there to be hit, unable to avoid the powerful KO punches of Kyle Nelson. And granted, DooHo Choi isn't as reckless as Kyle Nelson, but I do think the boxing is probably good enough to score against Bill Algeo. And guys, for anyone that hasn't seen DooHo Choi against Cub Swanson back in 2016, for anyone that hasn't seen that fight, go to UFC Fight Pass, watch that fight. Absolute madness. That fight was crazy. Now, like I said, Bill Algeo most recently against Kyle Nelson, a little bit disappointing. You know, the fight's done round 1, or was it round 2? Either way, you know, Kyle Nelson he found the mark. He found the chin of Bill Algeo. And Bill Algeo, man, he was there to be hit. You know, defensively didn't look good. And offensively, wasn't causing as much damage as Kyle Nelson. Guys, if we're making a prediction based on activity, then we're going to pick Bill Algeo to win the matchup. He's way more active than DooHo Choi. But DooHo Choi is a good boxer. He's a veteran. He's been in there with, you know, much better competition than Bill Algeo. Granted, it was a few years ago, but still, DooHo Choi, this guy can crack. His boxing's very decent. And like I said, Bill Algeo against Kyle Nelson, just defensively bad. His chin was there to be cracked. And I kind of want to fade that. I want to fade him now. Guys, for me personally, I'm going to side with DooHo Choi. I'm going to side with the veteran boxer, the underdog, DooHo Choi. I probably won't bet DooHo Choi, but yeah, that's going to be the pick. I'm going to fade Bill Algeo. Now, guys, moving into a matchup between Cody Durden taking on Bruno Silva. Very interesting matchup. Now, when it comes to Cody Durden, he's primarily a wrestler. If he can impose his wrestling onto the opponent, he will absolutely do that. His striking is definitely improved, right? It's definitely improved over the years. I wouldn't say his striking is improved massively, but there's certainly improvements there. You're seeing that in the performance against Jake Hadley, right? He was much more composed on the feet in that fight than what he's been in previous fights. However, against Ulanbekov, he got dropped. So maybe showing previous defensive mistakes in the striking. Ultimately, Cody Durden is a wrestler. He wants to wrestle the opponent. Now, Bruno Silva, there's some inactivity to Bruno Silva. Hasn't fought in 16 months, right? But Bruno Silva has nasty calf kicks. He's got big power on the feet. And I kind of think, you know, the matchup comes down to, can Cody Durden out-wrestle Bruno Silva? Can Cody Durden simply impose the most effective part of his skill set? And the most effective part of his skill set is the American wrestling. Can he out-wrestle Bruno Silva? Guys, there's going to be times where Cody Durden should be able to out-wrestle, should be able to out-grapple Bruno Silva. There should be times where he's going to do that. But there's also going to be times where Bruno Silva is able to break away from the fence, able to work back to his feet, able to break away from the grappling, from the wrestling that Cody Durden wants to use. There's going to be times where Bruno Silva is able to break away from that, right? Get back to the striking, get back to the calf kicks, the overhand rights, the hooks. He's going to be able to break away from the wrestling at times. So there's going to be times where Cody Durden has found success, has wrestled the opponent, has won parts of the round, and there's also going to be times where Bruno Silva breaks away from that, and now he's throwing big calf kicks, overhand rights, hooks to the body, and he's starting to, you know, find his momentum. And in that moment, Cody Durden has to break the momentum of the opponent. Now, guys, recently on some breakdowns, I've been referencing chess because I've been learning chess, been playing a lot of chess. And when it comes to chess, right, for anyone that doesn't know, there's a thing in chess called initiative. An initiative is essentially, you know, you're the one that has the attack. You're the one that can see the openings, the holes in the opponent's defense, right? And you take the initiative, you start to attack the opponent. Now, guys, when that's happening to you in a game of chess, when that's happening to you, you can feel that. You can feel that, right? And at that moment, it's your job to stop that. It's your job to take away the initiative from the opponent. It's your job to break the momentum and bring the momentum back to yourself, right? That's your job in a game of chess. Because when the opponent's got the initiative, it's a bad thing. It's a really bad thing. Because when the opponent starts to find success, right? And I'm using this as a reference in fighting because it's the same thing, right? When someone starts to find success in a fight, they build confidence. They build confidence from that. You know, you're finding your mark. You're finding the calf kick. You're seeing visually that the opponent is hurting, right? And you start to build even more confidence from that. It's called initiative. It's called momentum, right? It's all about dictation. Who can dictate the battle? Who's going to do that? At times, Cody Durden is going to do that. At times, Bruno Silva is going to break away from the fence and start to find his initiative, his calf kicks. It's all about dictation. It's all about who can impose their will, who can be in control. Only one can be in control. So guys, if Cody Durden has his moments in the grappling, in the wrestling, against the fence, on the mat, which he should have, and Bruno Silva has his moments on the feet, in the stand-up, the calf kicks, the overhand rights, the hooks to the body, which he will have, it just comes down to who can do more? Who can impose their will more? If Cody Durden has his moments, then Bruno starts to find his moments. That's where Durden has to say, look, I'm not going to let him build confidence. I'm not going to let him build momentum. I'm not going to let him steal the round. I've had a good round here. I've wrestled the opponent, got him to the mat, won most of the round. I'm not going to give away this round. I'm going to keep this round. This round's mine. I'm not letting the opponent build momentum. Sometimes, guys, it's just about staying in control. And staying in control for a full fight, that's difficult, right? At the highest level of mixed martial arts, that's really, really difficult, right? But I think potentially Cody Durden wins. Potentially. Give me the wrestler. Now moving into a matchup between Holobaugh taking on Kruschewsky. And guys, Kanan had a really decent performance on the contender, which got him a contract, right? However, his UFC debut, it was pure dust. He got dusted by Charles Oliveira's son, Brenner Alves. But Brenner Alves has a very different style to Kurt Holobaugh. Brenner Alves, just like his father, is all about Muay Thai in the stand-up. Whereas Kurt Holobaugh is an old school guy. Walk forward, display your toughness on the feet, get into the pocket, start to really box with the opponent. His style is very old school. But does that style work against Kruschewsky? I'm not sure. And the reason why I'm not sure, I don't know a whole lot about Kruschewsky. I know on the contender, it was good. And then in the UFC debut, it wasn't good. That's all I know about Kruschewsky. So gun to the head, M16A4, red dot, blue tiger. And someone said, you know, every time I mention that, switch up the guns. But guys, the M16A4, it was the one. That's all you needed. So guys, you point the M16A4, red dot, blue tiger at my head, and I've got to make a pick. Then I'm going to side with, who am I going to side with? I'm going to side with Kanan. Give me the Brazilian. Now, guys, moving into a matchup between Steve Garcia taking on Sungwoo Choi. It's a very winnable matchup for either guy. Let's start with that, right? Every fight is a winnable fight for anyone, but as we mentioned earlier, it all comes down to who can dictate the fight, who can impose their will. Now, with Steve Garcia, his octagon name is the Mean Machine, and that's because he's extremely aggressive, very dangerous. He's all about violence. However, Steve Garcia, from a defensive standpoint, he's pretty awful. As he marches forward looking to cause chaos, he leaves himself open to counters. And he hasn't really improved his defense. He's always been defensively bad. But the upside is he takes the initiative and really tries to break the opponent. Now, Sungwoo Choi has decent power, but the chin durability, it's not great, right? There's times where Sungwoo Choi will be completely in control, but he just makes one blunder. And now he's on the mat trying to survive from being knocked down. So there's things about Steve Garcia that are positive in his game, and there's things about Sungwoo Choi that are also positive. But both guys have weaknesses. As I mentioned, the main weakness of Steve Garcia, as he's throwing his strikes, he leaves himself open. You can see that against Machete. You can see that, you know, more than once, on more than one occasion. But if we side with Sungwoo Choi, then you've kind of got to pray that his chin durability holds up against somebody that's going to find his chin, right? Steve Garcia is going to find the chin of Sungwoo Choi. Now, if we're going to make a prediction based on technique, then the prediction is going to be Sungwoo Choi. I think he's technically better than Steve Garcia. You know, the Muay Thai of Sungwoo Choi, the kicks, the power, it's very, very decent. It's just, you know, at times he gets his chin checked and, you know, the chin kind of fails at times. And against someone who's so aggressive, the Mean Machine, Steve Garcia, he's so aggressive, right? he's going to check his chin. He's going to check it. Guys, very tough matchup. Very, very tough. But I'm going to side with the technique of Sungwoo Choi. Not that matchups are always decided based on technique. It may not be, right? But this one, I'm kind of leaning towards the Muay Thai of Sungwoo Choi. Now, moving into the co-main event, we've got Brad Tavares taking on JeongYeong Park. And if we're making a prediction based on, recent form, then we're going to pick JeongYeong Park. However, Brad Tavares, man, he's good. He can box. He can wrestle. His chin is, it's been dusted recently against Gregory Rodriguez, against Bruno Silva, right? Even against Dricus du Plessis, right? In that fight, he took some nasty damage, right? But Brad Tavares has a lot of experience. He's been in there with, the best fighters. Edmund Shabazian, Israel Adesanya, Robert Whittaker, Yoel Romero. He's been in there with some killers, man. And JeongYeong Park is very good. His boxing's good, his wrestling, his grappling. He probably tries to push Brad Tavares against the fence, bring him to the mat, and, tries to out-grapple Brad Tavares. And if that doesn't happen, then there's still a case that JeongYeong Park may hold his own on the feet and start to really box up Brad Tavares. But there's also a case that Brad Tavares has so much experience. Yes, he's not in good form, but he may have his moments on the feet. He may actually win this fight. He may win the co-main event. And to be honest with you guys, I kind of feel like the underdog, Brad Tavares, it takes some faith. Yes, it takes some faith, but hey, give me Brad Tavares. Give me Brad Tavares to box up JeongYeong Park. And if I get the co-main event right, then that's a decent pick because JeongYeong Park, 10 UFC fights, 7 wins. Unlike Lucie Pudilova, 10 UFC fights, 7 losses, JeongYeong Park is in good form. This guy's good, but give me Brad Tavares. Moving into the main event, we've got Amanda Lemos taking on Virna Jandiroba. And guys, a few months ago, we had back-to-back women's main events, right? We had Erin Blanchfield taking on Minot Fiorot. And we also had, who was it? We had Rose Namajunas against, what's her name? Amanda Hebas, right? And guys, I got both of those main events wrong. I got them both wrong, right? I took Erin Blanchfield, that's wrong. And then I took Amanda Hebas, that was wrong. Now, last week, I took Rose Namajunas. That was right. If I get this main event right, then I've kind of unlocked a little achievement for myself, right? 2 main events in a row, women, I got them wrong. Now it's time to get them both right. Can I get them both right? Now, guys, here's the thing with Amanda Lemos taking on Virna Jandiroba. Virna Jandiroba, this girl's grappling. This girl's jiu-jitsu. It's extremely good. Like, it's very, very good. If she gets Amanda Lemos to the mat, then it's potentially a wrap. It's potentially game over. And especially as the fight progresses. Because Amanda Lemos, her cardio, kinda dusty. It's kinda dusty. And if you get tired and you're made to grapple with Virna Jandiroba, then it's potentially a wrap. Wrapped up like a blunt. Smoked up like a blunt. Potentially. However, guys, looking at the flip side, looking at Virna Jandiroba being made to strike and stand with Amanda Lemos, that's a bad thing for Virna Jandiroba because Amanda Lemos, this girl can strike. Her calf kicks. Look at her calf kicks against Mackenzie Dern. And I know Mackenzie Dern is... Actually, it's very similar to Virna Jandiroba. Mackenzie Dern's all about jiu-jitsu. Her stand-up, garbage. Just pure garbage. And the same with Virna Jandiroba. Yes, Virna's kinda tough. She'll walk forward, show toughness. But her stand-up is terrible. She's all about jiu-jitsu. So guys, in a way, Amanda Lemos has already fought this fight. She's already fought against someone that has elite jiu-jitsu. Extremely good grappling. But their stand-up, not so much. Their stand-up, just terrible. That's the case with Mackenzie Dern. That's also the case with Virna Jandiroba. So can Amanda Lemos win in a 25-minute fight against an elite grappler? We saw against Mackenzie Dern, Amanda Lemos got very tired. Very, very tired. And as I mentioned, if she gets tired against Virna Jandiroba and she's made to go to the mat, she's made to grapple with Virna, then she might get wrapped up. But also, on the flip side, if Virna can't get Amanda Lemos to the mat, then she's forced to deal with the calf kicks of Amanda Lemos. And the calf kicks of Amanda Lemos, they're so damaging, they're so effective, right? And as you take away that lead leg, you may take away the entry, the takedown entry, because now you can't plant on that lead leg to get the wrestling going. And Virna Jandiroba isn't this, elite wrestler. But guys, Virna Jandiroba, she's got strength. And once she wraps her hands round the opponent, she brings the opponent to the mat. And now you're in the world of Virna Jandiroba. It all comes down to dictation. It all comes down to game planning. It all comes down to who can impose their will. We know the game plan of Virna Jandiroba. We know the game plan of Amanda Lemos. But who can go in there and impose their game plan? Who can do that? It's a pick'em. It's a pick'em, but give me the underdog. Give me Amanda Lemos. I probably won't bet the main event, but guys, I just love the stand-up of Amanda Lemos, her calf kicks, the speed in which she can find the target. It's all good work for Amanda Lemos on the feet. And I'm not saying that I don't love the jiu-jitsu, the high-level grappling of Virna Jandiroba. It's very good, right? But yeah, we've got to make a pick. We've got to find a pick. And for me, I'm going to go with the calf kicks. I'm going to go with Amanda Lemos to take away the lead leg and to stop the wrestling and to keep Virna Jandiroba on the feet. And that's where Amanda Lemos should shine. She should win. So give me the underdog. Give me Amanda Lemos. As always, guys, drop down your main event, your co-main event, your Money City bets. Drop all that good stuff in the comment section below. And as always, keep your eyes to the sky, never glued to your shoes. Peace.